Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Australia says it will join the United States in a diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympic Games in Beijing.
It will come as no surprise that the Australian government will not be sending any official...
Prime Minister Scott Morrison cited trade disputes and China's alleged human rights abuses in Xinjiang as the reason.
As you've seen from the United States government...
After the announcement, Australia's Olympic Committee said this won't affect the athletes' preparation for the Games. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman said Australia's actions amounted to political posturing, accusing them of violating the political neutrality of sports. India's top military commander, his wife and 11 other people have died after a military helicopter they were travelling in crashed in the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Video posted online purportedly shows the smoking wreckage of the Mi-17 VT helicopter at the scene of the crash. The Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, was travelling with 14 people when the aircraft went down near Coonoor city. A minister in the state government said 2 other people were in a critical condition in hospital. Olaf Scholz has been appointed as the new German Chancellor by German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier.
Dass ich meine Kraft dem Wohle des deutschen Volkes widmen, seinen Nutzen mehren.
As is traditional, Scholz read the oath in the German constitution in the presence of the German Parliament President, Bärbel Bass. Scholz was voted in with a clear majority of 395 votes in the Bundestag lower house of Parliament. Lab tests of the new Omicron variant in South Africa suggest it can partially evade the Pfizer jab. Researchers say there was a very large drop in how well the vaccine's antibodies neutralised the new strain, but the World Health Organization's Dr. Mike Ryan said there was no sign Omicron would be better at evading vaccines than other variants. Local residents in Indonesia have returned to retrieve items from their houses in the aftermath of the eruption of Mount Semeru. Despite authorities warning about continued seismic activity, videos show people attempting to salvage furniture and clothing. Yesterday, Indonesian President Joko Widodo visited the disaster zone and said at least 2,000 homes would need to be relocated to safer areas. More than 100 people have been killed following days of ethnic clashes in the West Darfur state in Sudan. Nearly 10,000 people have fled a wave of intercommunal violence in the Jebel Moon locality of West Darfur state. Over 2,000 of them, mostly women and children, have sought refuge in neighbouring Chad. Many of the refugees are reported to be in an urgent need of food, water and shelter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grande.
The UN Refugee Agency are meeting with state authorities and community leaders to discuss the deteriorating security situation and ensure safe access to all affected areas for humanitarian response. The office of Ethiopia's Prime Minister says he has returned to his usual work in the capital and has left the battlefront. Abiy Ahmed has been seen several times in recent weeks on the front line in the civil war, which started in Tigray last year. Federal troops have recaptured areas that were formerly under rebel control, but rebels have insisted that they have strategically withdrawn from several areas. A Japanese billionaire has become the first civilian to travel to the International Space Station in more than a decade. The 46-year-old fashion magnate and art collector had been training at a space center outside Moscow in the months leading up to the launch. The rocket blasted off from Kazakhstan earlier. The cost of Maezawa's trip was not disclosed, but some reports have put the price tag for tourist space flights as high as $50 million. And finally, 1 million turtles have been released into a river in the Amazon border between Bolivia and Brazil in an attempt to preserve the species. For years, Amazon river turtles have been losing the battle against climate change and human activity that threatens their ecosystem, directly affecting their survival. Since 2007, biologists and volunteers have formed a binational project to protect the species. It's hoped their numbers will soon rise due to the conservation efforts. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.